Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm going to speak about education in general and my experience in education in the South Asian community. Firstly, I'm going to state a few findings that I found on the government website. In the Asian community as a whole, which is Bangladeshi, Indian, and Pakistani peoples, 50% of peoples get a strong pass. Then when you break it down into the three countries, Bangladeshi people, there's only 49% people who get a strong pass in English and maths. Indian peoples is higher, 60% get a strong pass in English or maths, and the lowest from the three, Pakistani peoples, only 40% of all peoples in England get a strong pass in English and maths. When you break it down into cities with a lot of South Asians in the city, in Leicester, of all the South Asian peoples, only 43% of Leicester South Asian students get a strong pass in English and maths. In Birmingham, only 40% of South Asians get a strong pass in English or maths. So this shows that generally India's gets 60%, so that's over half. But Pakistani and Bangladeshi peoples, less than half of our people get a strong pass in English or maths. So that's quite a big gap, and half of our students aren't getting a strong pass. And in those cities that I just mentioned, in both the cities, less less than half of the South Asian students in those cities are getting a strong pass in English and Maths. That shows that our students aren't getting the results that we want them to, and it shows that we're lacking behind. And from my own perspective and what I've seen and as a student in school myself from before, I'm just gonna explain a few things. Firstly, I'd say that um, because a lot of maybe now it's changing slightly, but a lot of our parents are they've come in the UK in 60s, 70s, 80s, so their English might not be as good as you want it to be, or their knowledge of English, maths, or science, or other subjects might not be as good as you want it to be, so they can't really help their children in their work. So those students they have a disadvantage because they can't rely on their parents to help them. So they have to help themselves, or make use of time in school, or ask other students for help. Whereas um, a lot of students that are born here, or let's say English or British students, or students or other communities where English is more of English is spoken more, they have a bigger advantage because they can get help from their parents, whereas we can't. And although I didn't necessarily get help from my parents, I had siblings that helped me, older siblings. So maybe other in the South Asian community, people might rely on their siblings to help them, but some people might not have siblings, or the siblings might be similar age. They need help themselves, so they have to they do the homework or work hard. They do it to their best of their ability, but they're not getting help at home, so they have to rely on school. And when you've got a 2 week holiday and you 2 week holiday to do work, and you're just with your parents, you have a disadvantage, and that's what I've noticed. And a lot of the statistics that I just showed shows that like I feel that we we just go to school, and then we want to get the grade to get into colleges and then get into universities and to get a job. But that's the what we've been told and what we do get told. But so you go to school, do well, go to college, do well, go to uni, do really well, get a high paid job, and then you live your life. But we don't go to school to. That's the only reason why we go to school, but we don't actually go to because we want to be educated and because we want to learn. We're going to do to get to certain points in life. We only so school is a stepping stone to college. College is a stepping stone to uni. Uni is a stepping stone to a job, and then once you got a job, then you can that job is a stepping stone to getting a house or getting cars or whatever. Whereas if our mentality was different, where we're going to learn, we want to learn, then we're more likely to do better because we're not just robotically doing things to get somewhere. We're actually absorbing the information. And speaking of that, I've noticed that as soon as we finished, once you get the job, do a lot of South Asians. I've noticed that they haven't read a book in 10 years, or they haven't done English or maths. They haven't used any English or maths things in 10 years. All they've done is done their job. Well, if we got inside us that the desire to learn, then even when you've left school, you carry on learning because you want to develop yourself, because you're interested, because you feel that it benefits you. But we're not like that because we've only gone to learn in school just so we can get to the next part. College, then get to the next part. Uni, get to the next part, get a job, then stop. Let's stop learning. We don't need to learn anymore. And that's what I've noticed. And recently, in the last 2 3 years, when I maybe four, once when I went to college, I've noticed a lot of South Asians and other ethnic minority people. They I've noticed that they work quite a lot because they've told me as well, because their parents rely on their income as well to get by. So even though they're trying to do well at college, they got other things on their mind, and as soon as they get home, they can't have that time to go over anything or do any work at home because they're at work. And then when they get to work, then it's you're going to sleep, back to college. As soon as you get back from college, you work. And a lot of students, they're not just working part time; they're working 30 plus hours, sometimes 40. They fit it around any hour of work they can get. They take it, which is good because they're getting experience and they're supporting their family. But the education suffers, and then they get held back again. They have to do it next year, next year, and I feel that something should be done about it. And speaking of that, I've noticed that even within the South Asians, compared to people who are born in this country and compared to people who have come over, I've noticed that there people who have come over at the age of 13, 14, 15 onwards, they're more they have a more of a desire to do well in the education so they can get a better job, so they can turn their life around, so they can support their family, back home as well. Whereas but from my point of view and what I've seen, people who are born here, they just it's school is a chore, it's boring. You're only going because you have to, and then you go to college because you have to, and then you go to uni because you don't know what else to do, and then you get a job or you get any job. Where people from other countries, maybe because they've had it harder over there, they come here more committed to get the grades and then get the jobs and do well. So that's the difference between South Asians in the UK, born in the UK, and those coming over in the UK 13, 14 onwards. Speaking on that, similarly on that, people who are, I've noticed, not maybe South Asians, but more Arabs, Turkish, those sort of Afghanistan, people from those countries that have come here as refugees or come here other ways, they they feel they're using this opportunity in education. They've seen back there what's going on in wars. They've come here. Education is like their lifeline, and they're using it. And I've seen myself people from those countries. They're getting the A stars because they're putting the work in, and people from our um, born here, they just take work as you have to do, and they end up getting C's. Whereas, and you can see the difference in desire, in commitment, in wanting to get the grade to get the better job. But I'd say just to sum it up, that people born here we get on a plate, but we should try and get the best grades we can, especially as because the education is free. In other countries, it might not be free, so we're getting free education. And you see from people who can't who haven't gone education, when they get the chance to get free education over here, they grab it with two hands. So I'd say the next generation or the generation right now should value education. And on the other note, I'd say people who don't really get support from their parents because they can't. There should be something set up where people who don't have support at home for their to do their work or whatever, they should have somewhere to go, or you have resources to use so they don't have a disadvantage, and it's a level playing field.